Hi, it's Andrew Bell here. I recently touched on some of the conflicting information that certainly makes it hard for people to truly decipher what's going on. For example, there is some information showing record levels of household savings, yet at the same time, we're hearing about increased distressed households with mortgage arrears. There's even an article recently in the AFR stating that the number of new listings coming to the market that were distressed property sellers forced to sell are now representing 10% of the market. Now, being in the industry, I knew that there was no official measure of whether a listing was a distressed listing or not. We list dozens of properties every day of the week. We don't notify anyone as to whether it's a distressed seller, so I was curious as to where this information was sourced. It turns out they look at the wording in real estate ads to see whether it indicates the property is a distressed listing or not. Now, mortgagee sale is pretty clear, but it goes on to identify wording such as make an offer, urgent sale required, motivated seller. I'd love to know who decided that such wording represented distressed sellers. We often get a seller listing their place with us who have another property they want to buy and will want to put some urgency into the ads to signal to buyers that they'd like to sell quickly. They're not distressed at all. They're just keen to get on with their next real estate purchase. And we often have people moving interstate for new jobs and so on. They'd also like to sell their property sooner rather than later. No distress, just a preferred option. This research, if you could call it that, is completely flawed. Another bit of information that puts people in conflict with trying to understand what's actually happening is, say, for example, the latest information showing that Australians have never been wealthier at present. Total household wealth surged 35.5% since the beginning of COVID, and it's hit a record 14.9 trillion by the end of March. And that's according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics. Even at a time when we're talking about rising costs of living, household wealth grew by another 1.2% from January to March of this year. Australians added $40 billion to savings in the March quarter. And this contrasts with the rest of the world that saw savings decline. Wealth is also measured by household values, the values of assets, and superannuation balances. However, going forward, there is an expectation this wealth will be somewhat eroded. Shares have declined in value, and so they will reduce the wealth of anyone that has money in superannuation or direct investment in the share market. Property prices are softening in many parts of Australia, and so that will reduce the wealth effect as well. With 35% increase over the past 2 years, Australians overall are significantly wealthier than they were 2 years ago, which is why we're seeing people continuing to consume all types of products, including real estate. The thing to watch out for is whether consumer confidence gets eroded, and that'll start to see people stopping consuming, and that might happen, of course, with higher interest rates. But we've got to be really careful because this can trigger a chain reaction. Hasn't happened yet. It's one of those things we have to watch carefully. Well, I think everyone knows that spring has always been one of the best times of the year for real estate. People come out of a degree of winter hibernation. It hasn't this winter been super cold. Then there is the consciousness that people would like to be in a new home prior to Christmas, and particularly those with kids that want to be ready for the new school year in a new location. We have one of our major promotions for spring called the Spring Carnival Selection, which is a high-profile campaign that gives participants in this program a much higher degree of marketing profile for their property that can only be provided by ourselves, being the largest real estate company in Australasia. This campaign is only available through the Ray White Service Paradise Group that operates from northern New South Wales all the way through to Brisbane. So contact your preferred Ray White Service Paradise agent or reach out to us with the details on screen now, either by email or a 1-800 number. So don't miss out. Let's get ahead of all the effects of rising interest rates on the real estate market. I look forward to being with you in another fortnight's time for more insights into the real estate market.